And we're off. And it works. Excellent. Okay, so thank you all for coming. A lot of this talk is based on a bar we worked on together. And I did the interiors and I did the lighting. So about us, a little brief bit about us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I am Anna Burles and I'm co-founder of Run for the Hills, which I run with my husband. I'm interiors and he is branding, graphics and art. So we do loads of hospitality, hotels, bars, restaurants, workspaces, boutique cinemas, but also loads of resi as well. So lots of cross-pollination between the two sides of the business, which you'll hear more about that later. And then we've collaborated with Neil on multiple projects.
Lots by now. I say I've lost count, but yeah, several. And then me, Neil Knowles, Elektra Lighting, set it up 26 years ago. We've done 300 hotels and well over 1,000 restaurants by now, and a couple of cruise ships as well. So there you go. The rest of this, Anna's going to talk you through the interior design, and then I'm going to tell you how I lit it, and then you're going to ask all annoying questions. Do you want the
Yes.
thing?
Okay. So it's that way, is it?
That
so
way.
this is.
Oh,
that's yours?
sorry, that's our introduction. There's a bit of introduction. I forgot I put this slide in. That's my introduction, and then you get your introduction. And then we get on to the actual bit.
Yeah, so lots of sort of trendy,
Really
I guess our niche is premium casual dining, so it's not tablecloths, it's kind of trendy sharing plates and very social and lots of open theatres and open kitchen kind of stuff. So this, just going to the case study, it's called Dood, D-O-O-D, and it is a Persian restaurant. And it is from a client of ours that we've collaborated with a few times who have a couple of amazing Indian restaurants. But this was a new foodstuff for him, so it was quite a departure. So all these things that you can see on the page, whether it's the product design or the little nomadic characters and the patterns, they're all from my husband's side of the business. So they created the logo, the identity, the colour palette, the typography, the patterns, and then everything, website, and all the marketing materials. So it's a very immersive design. That's kind of what we specialise in. So the client's super creative. He's called Jaff, and he always has a lovely story. So he charted the route of the nomadic traders across the Silk Route from Asia all the way through to Europe. And the idea was, the collision of cultures and people exploring spices, materials, silks, and bringing them from far-flung places. And really it's that sort of ancient flavours of the Middle East coming through to Europe, and really the birthplace of an amazing cuisine. So a gorgeous story behind it, and my job was to try and bring that story to life. So knowing that he's a creative client, knowing that he's not going to say no to good ideas, and he's not going to try and pull me back, which a lot of clients do, I said, well, where would these traders sleep and stay on the route? And sometimes they would stay in caves that are called caravanserai, and other times in the middle of the desert it would be in a tent, a Bedouin-style tent. So I said, well, how about we have a tent above the bar? And most clients would go, no. And he said, yes. How heavy is it going to be? Don't know. How are we going to make it? Don't know yet, but we'll find someone. So as you can see, we used lots of exposed raw materials and very solid, honestly carpentered material, furniture, so that it really could have come out of a nomadic tent in the middle of the desert.
I think you have to be there to appreciate the detailing that Anna's brought to this project. Every single square inch of this project is detailed finely, and there are logos on all sorts of things, and even the taps and the stuff behind the bar, the level of intricacy is incredible.
Well, that's it. It's kind of invisible branding in a way, isn't it? If you look at these little nomadic characters, they're in the brand, they're actually animated on the website and all of the kind of infographics. But we had them made into some tiles that are in the bathroom. I don't know if you can see this twisted knot, that's the handrail on the stairs. Again, just assuming, well, how would metal workers back in the day, or how would people fashion things? It would be quite unique and quite interesting. But you can even start to see the importance of lighting in the interiors. This was meant to look like a kind of Persian rug, but actually we designed it, we made it, we suspended it. It's a lovely piece of art, and most of the art in the venue we designed as well. Exposed the finishes so that nothing was perfect. But onto...
You've gone too far.
Have I gone too far?
You can carry on, it's fine.
So it's set across 3 floors. There's a semi-open kitchen where you can see the chefs at play. Lots of different dining areas, a bar as well. So yeah, it's a fully immersive restaurant. and quite a new departure for Newcastle as a city, as a location. The Persian scene is now growing off the back of this one launching, but it's always it's a gulp moment when you launch a brand new type of venue, but it's on the riverfront and it looks amazing. But yes, it was a wonderful project to work on, but we knew from the outset that we needed to create that atmosphere of the candlelight, the fireside. It's dark. It doesn't have a huge amount of natural light, so we thought, let's lean into that and play into it and really make it feel as if you've had a long day's travelling from wherever you've come from or from wherever you're going to, and then you're settling down to eat and break bread together.
And definitely candlelight and fireside was something we wanted to capture, that kind of ongoing feeling of travelling, of being. So we thought, how do we not make a dark and moody bar? This is how a lot of people think you make a dark and moody bar. You put lots of lights in, you put them on a big dimmer switch and turn them down. And this is not how you do it. If you do that, you'll end up with a dark bar which isn't at all moody. And people will have to get their torches, their phones out to read the menu. So there's a lot of rules that I thought of when we came up with about how to actually make it dark and moody. And I'm going to kind of have the clicky thing. And here they are. This is most of them. There's probably more as well, but I'm going to talk about each one's and how they go. I'll explain if anyone doesn't know any of the terms, but colour, temperature and drama and uniformity and accenting and floor level and facial and decorative and lots of little things and controls and scenes. So, colour, temperature. This television, by the way, the monitor is a really weird colour thing. I assume we've all seen this picture before because we've used it. I've seen everyone use it in so many presentations, but it kind of represents the way that the sun starts off and it's really warm and sunrise and it's a really warm colour temperature. In the middle of the day, it's really quite cold and blue, and then back in the evening again, it goes really warm again. It actually generally looks a lot nicer than this on a monitor with proper colour balancing. Sorry. It's too late to change it now. So the colour temperature, very important to pick. We wanted candlelight, we wanted firelight, we wanted way down the bottom end of the colour temperature spectrum. Historically, colour temperature, for those of you who don't know, is measured in Kelvin. It's a temperature. If you heat a lump of raw iron or something up to this temperature, it's the colour it would glow at. So tungsten 2800, because that's actually the temperature of tungsten in the old tungsten wires. And fluorescent used to be, what was warm white was 2700, because that's all you could get when fluorescent was around before LEDs. But LEDs suddenly went, oh look, we can do it warmer, we can do like 2400. I went to Frankfurt a couple of weeks ago, a month ago now, and they had really nice colour rendering stuff of 1000 Kelvin, which sounds like it's going to be really orange, but was actually just really, really, really warm and lovely. So for this place, I think we used 2200. For a warm bar in general, we'd probably go no higher than 2.4, and for Daisy Green, that's not Daisy Green, it is Daisy Green.
It's Larry's Bar.
It's owned by them, but it's not called them, is it?
Yeah, it's Larry's Bar.
It's called Larry's Bar. We use 1800, which does look on a proper television, and this is the last time I measured the monitor, actually really, really, really warm, 1800 Kelvin. So, colour temperature, very important. You try and make a warm, intimate, moody, lovely, sexy bar with 5000 Kelvin, you're going to get nowhere.
Yeah, it has to be candlelight. And it's amazing how the chefs as well, sometimes you have that battle with the owners or the people, let's say if you have a semi-open kitchen, thinking that the teams need a much brighter light to work by, but actually if you get it right and it's super targeted to the task that they're doing, let's say you've got a nice pass across the, sharing platters, as long as it's super close to where they're working, it can be incredibly low and they can still do their job.
And also I've got into arguments with them about other things. I've said, I remember talking to a chef once at the Hyatt in Kiev, and he said, I said I want to make it down quite low, and the chef said, you can make it as low as you like, I'm a chef, I can cook in the dark if I want, if I have to. And then he said, can you make it quite low so that I can leave all my pots and pans on the side and no one can see them? And then the hotel manager who I was standing next to said, can you make it quite high so he can't leave his pots and pans on the side? And anyway, we worked it out in the end. Drama. So drama is not about light level. Drama is about how intense the light is, the contrast between the high bits and the low bits. So, and it's a lot more, it's a lot more difference than you think there's going to be. If you double the light level, you end up with something which is really not dramatic at all. You have to go to 50 times the light level to get intense drama. Yeah. So this is a little display thing. This is at the Hilton in Portrush, another one of our projects. To get this kind of display accenting little spots of light, you have to make sure the foreground is basically dark. Yeah. If you have 10 lux on the foreground, in order to get this dramatic accenting, you're going to need 50 times that, which is 500 lux, which is now you're no longer in a dark and moody bar, which means that if you want to have dramatic accenting, you have to leave everywhere else really dark and not have any general lighting.
Shadow is just as important, isn't it?
Shadow is
thinking about where
important.
it is, how much of it, and more of it than you think to create that drama.
Yeah, and I always get into arguments with project managers and with people who say, "Oh, it's dark over here," and you go, "Yeah, it is dark over there. It's nice. I like it dark over there. What are you going to look at? There's nothing there." Yeah. And then a close cousin of drama is uniformity, which is the kind of the way that the light varies across the space. And this is just a little corridor in a lift lobby, and instead of just lighting it evenly, we've just put little pools of light to guide you and lead you down the corridor. And the bits that are not accented don't need to be accented. There's definite dark bits in the middle. Project managers always go, "Oh, it's dark, someone will trip over and they'll die and it'll be terrible." Nobody's going to die. It's a dark, slightly spotty corridor, you know. And we've done, as I said, 300 hotels in the last 25 years, and nobody's ever tripped over, to my knowledge. Although I would say, make sure you put lights on the stairs, because somebody will die if you don't put lights on the stairs.
That's true.
Yes, so uniformity and drama and accenting. So that's another thing. So not just the level of light, it's as much about the way we light bits and we ignore other bits and we make things dramatic. The next one, floor level, keeping everything dark. And this really plays into the campfire thing that Anna had in mind. So you're thinking about the lighting being physically positioned at a low level. On this image, we've got these lights here, which are very black and give you little pools of light here. And then we've got lighting underneath all the dado rails around here. And we've got little uplights in the floor here, and we've got lighting in the shelves. There are no downlights in this project. We didn't want them. They don't really do anything. It only looks like there's a little pool of light here, but we've got a pendant. There's a pendant there, and there's another one just above this. So there's no downlights at all in this hotel, because we wanted to create it to be dark and moody. And it's quite a difficult thing to achieve, but if you do manage to do it, you end up with a very warm, welcoming space, which looks better on better televisions. Sorry, I said I wouldn't mention it again. So keeping things in floor level, and with the project that was as designed as Dude was, it was easy. We just found lots of things that Anna put in there and we lit them.
Yes, we'd created, again, you're thinking about the focal point, aren't you? You start off with getting the operational layout working for the client. How many covers do you have? What's the flow? How do the staff work space? What's going to be the kind of coolest or hottest kind of corner? How is it going to deliver? And then obviously how it's going to look. But you get the operational side first. And then once you start elevating the design, so you've done your floor plan, you've got your kind of concept down, it's thinking, well, where's the eye going to go? And really, again, you're thinking with the client, how much are we going to spend on that eye line? So we actually did have some really nice features on the ceiling. We had some draped silks again, so it wasn't the tent above the bar, but we had sort of enclosed, disguising, I guess, a very low ceiling. Had it draped with some silks that we've designed. And again, you know, you don't need much light on those. You just need to pick up either the corners or a little beautiful vignette of it. So how we tend to work with the lighting team is that we'll come up with these design details and say, actually, these are the focal points. Let's just make those sing and allow some peacefulness and some blank space in between. So again, it's just thinking, what do you like and what do you not like?
What do you not like?
Yeah.
What do you deliberately leave to be unlit? Facial illumination is the next one.
Making people look pretty when they're dining or on a date.
Because if you just had lots of lights and you turn them all down, you wouldn't be able to see people's faces. And you need to see people's faces. And you need the light. And this is why candles work really well, apart from the fact they're a really nice colour temperature and they're 1800 Kelvin, which means they're really warm and they make your skin look really warm, but also they light your face and you can see everyone.
That's right. So actually, if you go to New York, you'll notice that a lot of the cool kind of downtown-y type restaurants in the cool spots, they all are just candlelight. They actually have very little other decorative lighting, the occasional wall light. For some reason, New York seems to be okay with that. London freaks out about the fire hazard. So, yeah.
Most hotel operators now just won't let you use candles at all. They're all just like, no, you can use all those battery-powered portable things. And I have two problems with the battery-powered portable things. One is they all come in different colour temperatures. Like some of them are like 5,000 Kelvin and
really too bright
horrible.
And cold. Yes.
Yeah. And the other one is a lot of them try and be helpful by giving you an adjustable colour temperature. You can touch the top and it will change from a warm to a cold light, which is great. Except then your guests start pressing them, and then you look around the room and half of them are one colour and half of them are the other colour. And what I really want, if there's any manufacturers around, is a Bluetooth version which I can control. Anyway, facial illumination, cylindrical illuminance. There you go. Decorative elements. I don't know why my heading is kind of chopped off the top there. So decorative elements. Obviously there's a lot of decorative lighting in a scheme like this. Obviously if Anna gets anywhere near anything, there's loads of decorative lighting. Well, don't give me that look.
No, but then they're meant to look beautiful, aren't they? So a pendant's lovely, some wall lights might look really cool. I remember us chatting once and saying that actually most of the heavy lifting is being done by the architectural lighting, but the decorative is there to look. It's part of the decoration. It has a nice glow, but it's not necessarily casting a nice glow onto the table or onto where you want it to be. So, for example, I remember we was doing a boutique cinema where we had about 8 different table lamps just in a row of multiplicity on one single shelf, just to look cool. They were all different, but they were on super low. It was just a tiny glow. They weren't doing anything really other than looking great and adding some
We put a
atmosphere.
2-watt lamp in and then we dim them down.
Yeah. But they're still a massively important part of the scheme because they're a focal point and they create reflections and they zone a table, they make you feel, and if they're a rise and fall, they can turn it from daytime into a cosy date night by night. So they really are important, but you can't just have those. And
the danger of just having them, as a lot of these pictures show, and why this picture is in here, is if you have really, really bright, high power decorative elements, you just get this really flat, uniform space. So the top right is the Hilton Hotel on Park Lane, and the chandeliers are enormous, and it's great for conferences or something, but it's not, I don't think we can all agree, it's not a dark and moody sort of space. And you'll never get it to be dark and moody if you have that massively large chandelier. The reason you'll never get it to be dark and moody is the whole thing about accenting and drama that I talked about earlier, where you need the 50-to-1 ratio to make something look dramatic. And you'll never get it with that much kind of background light. So, and then we are into lots of small luminaires, better than one big luminaire. So this project, well, there are 4 projects, they're all ours. The top left is Hilton Park Lane foyer again. The lighting at the top, custom piece by Howden Moore, I think. Hundreds of little tiny LEDs. The one in the middle, Virgin Edinburgh, instead of one big light, we've got like 25 Voronoi Thaler lamps in the centre. And then Rusats, even this one down here on the bottom, even this one here has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 decorative lights. And then we've got little spots. See the way that we didn't like this whole picture? We just put a little spot onto here. And we put a little spot onto here. So it kind of accents it in quite a different and subtle way. And this place is full of lots of little tiny saucers. So lots of little lights. And then you can play with the values and the balance between them all when you try and program it. Which will bring us on to control at some point in the near future. Anna? Yeah,
just thinking, again, a big thing in hospitality design, but obviously in our residential design, there's a lot of crossover, isn't there? There's a lot of hybrid, people wanting home bars and for their homes to feel a bit more club-like. So thinking about the lighting on the tables is really key as well. So I think we'll all remember back to some are too young, back to the Pizza Express kind of slight, tiny little glow of light in the centre of the table. But actually, next time you go to a restaurant, I'm sure you'll kind of observe in nicely lit restaurants, sometimes the light will fill the perimeter of the table, so the full circle, the full square. But then there's lots of nice shadow on your chair. And it makes you want to sit at that table and be at that table. Other times it is just a tighter glow in the middle.
It's a little tiny candlelight spot. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I call it the Pizza Express spot, and some people increasingly don't know what I mean, because Pizza Express don't do it anymore.
Exactly. But they all make a difference to how intimate it feels, how nighttimey and how vibey it feels. The last thing you want is it's so much of a wash of light that it's also lighting your chair and the floor. Then you're suddenly into kind of a chain type scenario.
Controls controls are always important. With this project, with Dude, they wanted to keep the ceilings untouched because they didn't want to spend the money on taking the ceilings down and putting them back up again. So we had to use a Kasambi Bluetooth system, which picks up power from anywhere you can find it, and then uses a Bluetooth data signal to throw to so you can control. It's a mesh system, so it kind of bounces the signal from the first receiver to the next one. You can control the whole space. And actually, in this project with its really awkward floor plan, I think we can go with awkward floor plan. There was an entrance area, and then you went up a few steps to a raised bit, and then you went up a few more steps, and then there was another level. It was all over the place, wasn't it? It was a whole series of small levels. So that kind of zoning and controls was quite important. But with a restaurant like this, we typically put 8 different scenes: morning, lunchtime, early evening, mid-evening, late evening, cleaning, and off. That's our standard first pass. And then sometimes I'd talk to the general manager and explain that to him and say, this is what we've done. And he'd say, what about brunch? And we go, okay, we'll put another scene for brunch. And you go, what about the party scene? And I go, okay, fine, you have a party scene as well. And so I think we've had up to like 12 scenes running through the day, and they're automated, so it comes on just lunchtime, 5 minutes before lunchtime setting, it just comes onto this really nice perfect scene, and then it goes dark and it starts to go in early evening, it goes darker. And then actually the thing with this programming is it doesn't just get dimmer. With the late evening, you probably start turning things up. Yeah,
that's it. You're focusing, you're really boosting on certain elements and shadowing. So they all start going a bit haywire, don't they? The percentages later on. But that's as it should be.
And you turn the decorative stuff, maybe if there's any bright decorative lights, you turn them down, you turn the up lights up, you turn the little shelf lights up and then down again. And just it's the fun bit, actually. It's my favourite fun bit, programming.
The best thing about the new Bluetooth scenarios and some of the more modern, or sort of understanding how clients or designers need to be able to adjust and interpret, because you can go have your commissioning day and you can make all the right decisions on the day that you think, and then actually you operate for a few days and realise that it's not quite right. And I remember going to it was a residential project but a commercial big dining table for 26, and it was just too bright. And I remember calling the chap on a Friday evening, and he could do it with me over the phone, and we just nailed it.
That is good.
I mean, how amazing is that? Instead of waiting for a commissioning engineer to come and then fix it at great cost to the client, and then everyone's annoyed. It was just amazing.
Just done over the online. And you can sign in and do it as well on a lot of systems these days. Right, and then this brings us back to where we started, Dude Restaurant. So, why does it work? The colour temperature is right. There's drama. There's lots of accenting onto different elements. There's focal points. There is low levels of uniformity. If you look at the floor in front of the bar, it's actually just left quite dark. Lighting there is floor level elements under the bar and at low level decorative lighting, and then it's set up with several different control systems and scenes so that the whole thing is balanced.
And then you look at, for example, a lovely sort of vintage pot that was just picked out almost like an artefact in a museum, and it just makes you want to go and explore that seat near the bar.
It does. It does.
So lots of light and shade.
And all the spotlights that you can see in the track up the top, which you aren't really visible when you're there because they're hidden largely by that massive tenty thing. Very narrow beam, very focused, giving you specific things that we're lighting. I think I've just got about several photos of Dude.
So this would be a classic case of you can change the colour temperature on that lamp, which of course, one of the light levels looks nice. The other two don't. So of course we would leave it obsessively as we left the restaurant on the right level, but you just don't know what's going to happen next. So I think it should be just a one tone only.
No, definitely.
But they are good for moving around. Let's say in your build that you hadn't allowed, or the electrician's forgotten to wire something to a waiter station. That's terrible. Suddenly it's in darkness. To be able to just stick a portable on a shelf is great. So overall, they're a great development. Just need some work on the quality and the weight. Some of them are just not solid enough either. They just feel cheap. You touch them.
Yeah, and the ones. Yeah, I mean you can get them in all sorts of costs these days, but I'd say buy the most expensive you can afford. Same with dark chocolate.
And I think in this case, wasn't it true, Neil, that Jeff wanted actually very few scenes? He didn't want to confuse. Some of it's automated, but for the controllable ones by the team, he wanted fewer, didn't he?
We took them off the control plate, so it's just automated. But there's very little you can actually do with the controls. Because that's the other thing. Never give the staff control of the lighting. just set it up, get it perfect, get everyone to agree it, and then lock it off and walk away. And so we've used quite a few control systems, but our favourite ones allow you to put in passwords on the touchscreen, so you can set it, but then if you want to make little changes, but if you want to save that thing, you need another password, which we don't tell anybody, so they can't make any changes. Otherwise, the waiters will just be messing with the lighting scenes, and they're not experts. I'm not a waiter, they're not a lighting designer. So, what else have we got? Just some more kind of
we had some lovely sort of mood lighting behind the banquettes, but again, it's an absolute pet peeve of mine that we will design into our joinery drawings that the LED strip must not be seen at all. It's the effect of the light that we want to see, strictly not the tape, the opacity. And it's amazing how often on projects actually the joinery firm just don't route it in the correct way, and then it ends up being, and it's just heartbreaking because it looks as if the designer hasn't thought about it, but it is always thought about. And you just want the effect of the light. You don't want to see it. Same with joinery on bar shelving. You just don't want to see it. You know, you've all seen the home bar disasters. You know, where you can see the LED strip on all of the shelves, and it's a thing. You just got to hide it.
Yeah,
and you do have to think about that. There's lots of coordination with lots of other people that you need to work with.
We're always striving for really minimal kind of lighting. We started off as a theatrical lighting company actually like 26 years ago. So, and then with theatre, you don't care what the lights look like. You just care what they do. So we're always trying to make the effect rather than the actual thing. And then manufacturers come and think, oh, this spotlight's really beautiful. And I go, yeah, but I'm going to hide it anyway, so I don't care.
Yeah.
And then this is my favourite part, I think, of the project, and I just think it's all kind of coordinated here. The decorative lighting is amazing and looks lovely, but it's all 1 watt and it's all dimmed down. The little pools of light that you get accenting all the amazing things that Anna has placed on this sheaf of wheat at the front, and it's just spotlit with a little tiny spot that you can't really see, and it kind of leads you through, and it looks like a really amazing journey through a space. But all the lighting, most of the actual lighting in here is not coming from those decorative ones, but it looks like it is. Yeah, it looks like it is. But also there could so easily have been a yellow brick road on the pathway. But again, it's nice that it's dappled and it's asymmetric, and it's just, it's more of a discovery, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely. I think that's the lot, because I think just put all this little photos at the end. Oh, and lots of battles on the exterior as well with the planners about what colour temperature we're allowed to use, how much illumination we're allowed to use. Whether we can put permanent power supply as well. Remember that argument? Loads of drama. Yeah. But you get there in the end. But yeah, there's a surprising, well, you all know, don't you? You all work in the similar field. It looks effortless at the end, but it really isn't. There's an awful lot of work and coordination that goes behind it. Yes. And then obviously the lighting, controlling the lighting is one thing, but also controlling how the cushions get left. So, you know, you walk away for 2 seconds and they look very different. Someone's moving those around. So we photograph everything, and there becomes a little handbook guide of how this is meant to look. Because again, you can't expect the staff to know how to zhuzh a cushion, you know, or to move the pots into the right place. So we make it visual. Sorry. Yeah. I haven't seen your handbook guide. I've seen people in restaurants measure the distance of tables off wall when they're doing a setup, you know, with a little bit of string going, it's exactly this far apart off the wall, and that's how it's set up. So anyway, it all comes together in the end. But yeah, you can see the power of lighting. It doesn't matter how wonderful our design is, how well thought through it is, how well we work with the wider team to coordinate it. If it's not lit beautifully, it will never achieve its potential. So it's just really such an important thing, and because I know the power of it, and I also know that, you know, some clients have forced us to do it on our own. We're not, you know, they don't want to pay for a lighting designer, they don't want to do that, and you can achieve a certain amount, but I just know that it's so much better when we work with a professional lighting team, and I try and encourage all clients to do that. Constant, you know, juggling of budgets, but it's the one thing you shouldn't cut, is the lighting. Same with nice FF&E. There's no point in spending the earth on a fancy kitchen if what you touch when you sit down and how you feel when you're having dinner there
they're just not the places to cut, but they often are.
I mean, things get cut all the time, and it's tragic when it happens. And you're just like, oh, it could have been so nice, and now it just looks shit.
Well, you hope that you hope the end result is we all know the ones that got away. There are always details that you got away and you didn't get them.
Yeah.
But you just hope that overall it feels fabulous, and that's the aim. So yeah, it's a very special place. It's a lovely project to work on.
It was good. And I think we're out of time, but I think we've got any questions? Do we have any questions from anyone? Yes. Have a microphone. Go on, look.
Thank you for showing this project. It looks really nice. I was just wondering, when you work with these spaces that are mostly enclosed and you work with a dark scheme, but maybe the operating times go through the day, how do you manage that transition from the users from the daylight to a fully dark environment? Do you have like a transition space for that, or a scene that helps to do that transition?
We certainly have scenes on the control system for daytime and evening and lunchtime and afternoon, and we usually connect them to like both a light level sensor and a sunset clock, so that it knows what time sunset is, and it's going to get dark, and there's a light level sensor as well. Physically though, I think you're asking kind of two different questions, aren't you? Physically, how do we handle the kind of walk through so it becomes darker into the back, which is more your question really.
So we are increasingly using colour change lighting. So it depends on the project, obviously. So we've just been working on a Japanese bar restaurant called Walls of Tokyo, which is launching in a few weeks in Kensington Olympia. And the bar and the sushi bar and the cocktail bar are stainless steel on the downstairs version of the space. Upstairs on the roof terrace, it's all gold, or brass. So it's stainless steel, so we've colour lit it with a golden light for daytime. It's lunches, it's bright, it's fresh. You could imagine having a little coffee or a business lunch or whatever. But it can become a totally different colour by night. So that's how we've applied the light change, really. Same in lots of the joinery pieces as well, and the wine cabinets. They can go from hot red to indigo blue to gold, and on a really slow timer as well, so that you don't perceive the colour change. It might just go from a gold to a slightly orange after 20 minutes and then before you know it, you're having your second cocktail. And actually, was it always like this when you first came in? And that's a nice feeling,
The other problem you get with the transition from daytime to evening is, I was in Scotland last week doing a hotel restaurant, and in midsummer in Scotland it doesn't get dark until 10:30 at night. Right? And in the winter it gets dark at 3:30 in the afternoon. So how do we kind of change the scenes from daytime to evening if we don't have, there's a 7-hour difference between them, and you can't do anything like start at sunset, because otherwise it will just be really bright still at 10:30 at night when they're pretty much packing up for the day. It's really tricky. We have a whole kind of lengthy algorithm going, if it's between May and July and it's after lunch sunset, but it's before 8 o'clock and so that's really tricky too. It's much easier here, and it's much easier in the Middle East because the sunset time's more regular. There's no easy answer to it. You have to ask the client what they want and how they use their restaurant and what they do with it, and then anyway.
Given that a bar and a restaurant is both a public space and a workspace, what regulations do you have to follow regarding health and safety work, for example, and how do you handle the conflict between those and creating a beautiful space?
Well, the main one would be, I guess, the lighting levels in the display kitchen, which we kind of touched upon earlier. But then it's important to know there aren't any kind of legal requirements for it. There's nothing which says you have to have this light level. There's a lot of recommendations from people like the SLL or CIBSI and people like that who say, we kind of like you to have this. But one of the things that we would do would be to control it. I'm always upset when you do a display kitchen and we haven't managed to. We've given a specification for the lighting in the cooker hood, but nobody's read it and everyone's ignored it. And the manufacturer has just shipped this big cooker hood with these huge cold white batons giving 500 lux all over the space. What I try and do is have focused light, so it's just lighting down onto the counter, and then the verticals of the kitchen are dark, and then when you look at it from outside it looks dark, but that people can see what they're doing nicely. I wouldn't light it to 500 anyway, I'd probably light it to like 2 or 3, except in... No, actually just then it's fine. You need good colour rendering in a kitchen as well, so you can see what you're cooking.
But yeah, sometimes you're retrofitting lighting gel over the top of a fly swat type bright blue. Lots of the cooker heads are like that. I mean, I think if you think, we've done a few workspace projects in our time, and the large workspace developers or those large buildings, the light levels are horrific. For wellness, the lights are just so bright, and obviously there is guidance, but it doesn't have to be as uniform as people make it in those environments, and it's a horrible, horrible way to work. So I think it goes back to cavemen times, doesn't it? Our sort of times in caves, where that's why we respond so well to sort of, firelight and candles and a glow, because the sun during the day, we're used to having that blaring above us, but really, other ends of the day, our most peaceful, feeling safe time.
I'm definitely a fan of the caveman approach. Yeah.
And that's why it's your kind of eyeliner. It's next to you. It's not shining above you. This is quite bright above my head, and feeling very under the spotlight. So it just goes. It's a primeval thing. That's why we respond to nice light levels, and just that concept again in a workspace. If you look across a sea of desks and there's just a uniform, bright, horrific light, even down the corridors in between the desks should be darker. There should be light and shade. You understand you need light to work by, but how much? Not as much as people think. And
I was at the dark sessions in Sicily, as I remember, and asked all sorts of awkward questions during the panels. Yeah, I got a bit of a reputation for it. And one of them was, we were talking about light levels in offices, and I just said, if you're a lighting designer and you have your own office, do you ever turn the big light on? Put your hand up if you don't ever do that, and you just have a little task light on your desk, and most of the people in the room just put their hand up because nobody uses the big light. But the regulations still say 500 lux with a big light from the ceiling, and I'm like, no, nobody uses it. We don't turn it on. My office is largely lit with samples that I've stolen from various manufacturers, kind of scattered around the perimeter and under plants and behind desks and in shelves and things like that. And I've put a bit of sticky tape over the motion sensor.
Which is the same thing in your own home. If you think about your chandeliers or a pendant light, it's not actually casting much of a light onto the room. It is a light, but it's casting a little bit too much widely. But actually, if you just notch it really down, and then most of the light is the table lamps and the floor lamps and other things, it's just more peaceful.
Lots of small luminaires and low-level lighting. Yeah. And decorative bits and controls and really warm colour temperature. And drama. Don't forget the drama. The drama is very important. Any more? Oh, he's going to get his. He doesn't like me giving you mine.
And do you have a general rule of mixing lighting temperatures, like colour temperatures? Would you keep all of it to 2.4, or would you bring in some?
I wouldn't say I have a general rule, but I'm very conscious of the fact that you need to be very careful if you do mix them. So you can do things, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. If you're going to accent stuff, it should be slightly colder than the general lighting. So if you have like 2200 background, you can't use 2000 to accent, it has to be colder, otherwise it just looks really weird. And I think you're okay as long as you're consistent. So if you have lots of lighting at low level and it's all 2000 and then lighting in the ceiling is 27, you get away with that. But if you have bits at 2.2 and bits of 2.2 up there, but also bits of 2.7 up there, it just looks like you've got it wrong and you didn't specify it correctly. So you have to be consistent about it. And if we did have lots of 2.2 on 2200 at low level and 2.7 at high level, then you can turn the 2.7 off at high level and that's kind of okay. In the evening it becomes much warmer and lower automatically, which is nice. And I'd say you could do that. But then we kind of often use tunable light to do that anyway.
And then just thinking about art, I can see Guy here, who worked with me on lighting my own home. And we have a lovely little antique brass picture rail next, flanking behind our dining table with some chains and then 5 big pieces of art hanging from it. And I remember you saying that we needed to have a cooler light onto the art for colour rendition. Obviously, you don't want to make your art look kind of yellowy or slightly, muted. And it felt counterintuitive at the time, but it's absolutely right. And obviously, just for those pick out, I guess if you just think of gallery grade lighting, it often is slightly fresher and sharper because
Yeah.
it's just that tiny little, decorative element, sort of, or that sort of vignette. And again, as long as you don't have too many in the space, and most of it's warm, you can mix and match, but it's just getting that balance,
You
isn't
need
it?
to be careful about doing it. Yeah. Okay.
Have we got any more questions?
Come on, we'll bring him, come on.
Lovely to see your Northeastern project then, by the way. So thank you very much. That's fantastic. I was going to ask you, the decorative lighting elements, did you have any issues integrating the technology into the Kasambi system?
Oh,
Well, we
yes.
just always, I'm sure we do. So I guess we think of the look we want. We then go and look for products that fit that look from retailers and out there, kind of, whether it's commercial grade lighting makers, occasionally a bit of resi, it depends. And if we can't find it, we design our own, and then we have them made by, a lighting fabricator, and then we go to the lighting design company and say, do these work? What do you think? Are they compatible? Will they? And then there's a bit of back and forth, isn't there?
Yeah, and then we always specify like a lamp that we know works with the dimming system, so we can actually put it in. And then what we did with this one, as I said, we had Kasambi, which is Bluetooth, so every fitting gets like a little matchbox-sized thing with a Bluetooth connector, because they didn't want to work. Although in the end, I think they did take the ceilings down anyway, didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah. So that was all a waste of time.
But
and
yes,
then
all the lamps have to, all the bulbs have to work and be compatible. But again, there might be a light fitting, a decorative one that we've sourced that isn't dimmable, and that would be a massive flag because, or is it going to do that classic, not very good quality light that is either on, slightly flickering, and then very flickering, and then off. And that's the dimming range, and it's terrible, So it is sometimes quality as well.
Yeah, and then what happened with the Kasambi was there's a massive pile of parts arrived which the electrician had to connect in line with the decorative stuff, and there was also some other bits that went with the spotlights, and they got them confused, and some of the spotlights were wired on some and nothing dimmed. When they first turned it on, nothing dimmed at all because they'd got the boxes mixed up, and they were all like those ones with those and these ones, and they were just like phoning me up going, why doesn't it dim? Well, you paid lots of money for this. I'm like, I don't know. So I went up to Newcastle, which is a lovely city, and kind of worked out what it was, and then they had to take a week where they sort of took all the bits off and rewired them and put them back again in a different way, and then I had to come back again to program it, and then it was, so yes, we had issues.
Yes, there were some adventures at the end, and there was a press launch, obviously, with lots of footballers arriving, and it was like, oh my God, and then it was all fine.
It was all fine.
But yeah, you have your moments.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any more questions? Clearly said it all.
Hurrah.
So yeah, let's big round of applause now.